It's Jillian. So I'm just like in a very chill mode. Like hormones are just kind of just chilling. There's no up or no down. I'm not happy. I'm not sad. I'm not anxious, depressed, or adrenalized. I'm just very even. I'm really just getting used to understanding my own information and all the different discoveries around the use of energy, thermodynamics, bringing everything instead of into a allegorical big picture type of story. I'm bringing it all down to physics, and I never even thought I would bring physics into the Jilly Juice. Like, I never studied physics. I never even took a chemistry class. Okay. um I never thought I would actually be looking at math. Maybe one day I'll really understand how those formulas work, because yeah, there is probably so many formulas that I can apply to the concepts of J juice that somebody who studied chemistry and physics and astronomy, because all of that is connected, would be able to just be like, okay, this is basically jelly juice, and this is what happens when I don't know. And that's probably one of the things I'll pursue down the road in the future is really understanding physics from and chemistry from the point of speaking in formulas, where I can just write down a formula like Einstein, or write down a bunch of formulas, and have them all kind of conjoin where it's like, Goodwill Hunting or something. Um, but that's a very, very left brain type of thought. And so I got to bring both the left and the right brain. So glossing over a little bit over all the different areas of where people can somewhat grasp where I'm coming from. Like, not going too deep in any one area, because let me tell you, we live in a compartmentalized society where we have people who specialize in one area, but they absolutely have no experience in another area, though there is a connection to the other area, but it's like their brain only works in this direction or has a better ability to understand from this perspective. So if I just kind of, I don't know, just present the specific areas that they could see the connections between physics and chemistry and math and food and diet, and why you feel like shit, why you have high blood pressure, why you're scared of COVID 19, why you're probably so amorous, always looking for chicks, or why you're always looking for guys. There's a biological, biochemical, there's a chemistry process that is going on in your body that you're not even aware of, but you live from that reality. And so, yeah, I really look at all my people on my Facebook, and I understand your biochemical perspectives. But in your world, just like in my world before J Juice, I really wasn't aware of how biochemistry influences behavior on a level of even just politics. Who you're attracted to, what you're attracted to, your belief systems, in God and spirituality and all of that. That all has to do with your biochemistry, your spirit. But then those out there, the charismatics of different times that want people to follow them, have taken biology and chemistry and physics and turned it into something that can be used as a manipulation. And when someone feels a certain way, they think it's this, and then someone applies a meaning. So if you feel like, oh wow, I have this release, whatever, right? You think you found God, like tantric sex, right? People think that that's like a spiritual awakening or something. And so that's how some of these gurus, like these yogis that I'm sure you've heard about in the last couple of years, that have been exposed as sexual manipulators, that's how they're able to tractor beam people into following them and then becoming a minion for them. And then at the end, they self annihilate, or they get victimized by that person because someone inevitably crossed the boundaries. And that will happen when someone is trying to manipulate through your biochemistry. And so that's why it's so important to understand your biochemistry and understand that what you do right now, with you going to the doctors, with you taking all your different prescription medication, with you mischaracterizing your symptoms, you will fall victim to so many manipulations out there. But how do you tell someone who hasn't even seen a glimmer of what changing your biochemistry could look like in their world? It's like this is all they know. And that's how it's easy to control people in our societies, because they live in a very specific reality, and then they have all these different authority programs that will reinforce their specific reality. So it's like, yes, the Tower of Babel. People are speaking so many different languages, but it's essentially coming from the same foundation point, but they're speaking a different dialect. So they're trying to relate to each other, and if you're not aware that your biochemistry is causing you not to understand this other person, then you're going to think that person's the enemy. You're going to think that person is like whatever, and then all these emotions come to surface, and this is where wars start. This is where misunderstandings start. This is where the decline of society, yes, and the decline of your body. And then you're going to be always at war with yourself as well as everyone else around you. Or you pretend that there's no war within you and you just ignore and you keep anesthetizing yourself until there's nothing left. And that's also a reality that I see. People that just ignore what's going on in their body. They keep doing their drugs. They keep taking out organs. They keep taking out things in their body, so they don't ever have to feel and face that maybe they have some issues that they could reverse, but it's easier to ignore. And so you have that segment of society. And that's probably why they're legalizing the cannabis, why they're legalizing all these different drugs, because they can't tell people who are in such a tunneled biochemistry that there's another way, but you're going to have to feel pain, which is the complete antithesis of their intention. That's why they're taking their drugs to begin with. And so you almost like, it's like, introducing jelly juice is, and saying you have to face the pain is like, oh my God, it's blasphemy. It basically crosses all their lines of what their reality is. And so, yes, there's going to be a huge population that will not be doing jelly juice. And they'll like my information, but they will not have really the mental capability to be able to wrap their mind around facing their demons. And they're like, well, why do I want to live indefinitely? Why would I want to live indefinitely? Well, why would you go to the doctor? Why would you take your drugs to try to make you feel like you're healing? Because that's what they're telling you. Why do anything in the perception that you're going to prolong your life? Of course you want to live indefinitely. Of course you do. Nobody wants to die today. Nobody wants to die tomorrow. And no one wants to die next week. And no one truly does not want to go get a tarot card reader to tell them when they're going to die, because then they essentially jinx themselves. And so it's time that we now face the fact that we have a misalignment in our body, mind, and spirit. We say one thing, we do another, and then we rationalize it. And so me. This is me trying to find a way to say it in my book where I'm not going from like one subject matter to another. I've got to bring the connections to everything. And you know how hard it is to bring connections, to bring connections to politics, religion, and science, physics and chemistry, social sciences, all the different things that people are experiencing right now that they think it's just like they're so special. No, you're not that special. And that's what I keep saying in the beginning with J-Juice. You're not that special. I mean, you are in your way that, yeah, everyone has their own special spirit, whatever, but you have the same biochemistry as other people. It just manifests differently because of the tweaking that went on during your lifetime and even in utero and prior to that. You're a little bit different because you have maybe a little bit different culture, but you find people who were raised in the same kind of culture with this relatively same predispositions. That's how you're able to galvanize different groups and control them, because there's going to be people that are going to be kind of like you biochemically that you're going to relate to. And so when you think about it, you're really not that special. I'm really not that special. I mean, I'm adopted from Vietnam. How many other Vietnamese adoptees out there that have gone through their own trials and tribulations? Maybe not exactly the same thing that I went through, but they've had their own, and maybe they have relatively the same biochemistry. Maybe they have PMDD or whatever else. Who knows? I mean, the issues that I dealt with could have been picked up during my time here in America. And if I wasn't here in America, I may not have survived in Vietnam, but who's to say? Who knows? But I know I'm not that special. I just happen to have the time, the drive to live. Okay? Because I'll tell you what, when you're raised in a world, in a family where it's sink or swim, when it's sink or swim and you have to be strategic in your survival, whatever it is. And I'll tell you what, I was very strategic for a long time. I kept my head above water. I don't think, well, I tried to fit in with the Silicon Valley crowd, but there was no way I was going to conform. I couldn't even conform really in the military. I did for a minute. But I knew there's something more than all of this. I knew there's something more than chasing tail. I knew there's something more than living this formulaic lifestyle. I don't mind working. I work every single day. I do this Jilly Juice stuff. I work every single day. I am thinking constantly. I know there's more than just this very, very superficial, programming that we're dealing with. But I don't know what it's going to look like because we're in a society where everyone is thinking that, oh yeah, you got to go to college or get a trade, which, okay, fine, get a trade, learn a skill, make some money, maybe have a kid or two. But don't you think now that they've closed down the bars and maybe you don't go to movies but you watch movies, and maybe that they've closed down all these major social gatherings and you're like stuck at home, and what do? You turn to the computer and you start creating the drama because there really isn't any more drama really out there. So then what people do, they create drama online, which is okay sometimes because some people need to have that that energy, that motivation, that incentive to get up and look forward to something, right? But you realize there's so much information on the internet that you could pursue something to broaden your horizons, to learn something completely different that it doesn't have to fit within year 1 to year 60, and you don't have to look forward to your death and then hope that maybe modern medicine could keep me in a rest in peace type of lifestyle, which almost seems oxymoronic. How could you be rest in peace and still be living? Oh yeah, people do. They start taking out organs. They do all these different remedies. They do their drugs and all this stuff so that way they can still live, but not. So they're living between they're living between life and death on a daily basis, with more death overtaking. And so the whole thing with the Jilly Juice is realizing that there's so much out there that you can learn. Learn an instrument, learn how to write, learn how to speak, learn how to pave a driveway, learn how to, fix your car if you are mechanically inclined or want to get dirty. Learn how to, I don't know, do art, I guess, if you have that drive to do that. And so, and not chase after money as if it was something that is the almighty God. Because right now at this point, everybody in our society is not doing Jilly Juice. You are living on borrowed time because you don't have the ability to properly regenerate and have enough on reserve to be able to convert energy so you can live continuously and be able to learn new things. Maybe find a really cute girl that does the same thing and you guys are now like a power force down the road. Reversing the aging process is not impossible. That's why I've been studying negentropy. Negentropy and entropy, and I learned those two things in its own compartmentalized form. And you see me like oh my God, Jilly Juice is negentropy. Woohoo, great. But no, Jilly Juice is fueling your body, energizing your body, and then it's back with nutrition so your body can be able to finally retain reserves and regenerate areas that have been broken because of how you dealt with symptoms when you're trying to evolve. Okay? And then it has enough on reserve and you won't lose it. You won't have then the entropy, the second law of thermodynamics, which is wasted energy. An entropy type trajectory. So what I said is that when you fail to keep the currency within your body, you are essentially living on borrowed time. You are living on borrowed time because every single time you have an issue, you go to the doctor, you go get a loan out. I want to take a loan out on my life. So what do? They give you a medication, they take out an organ so you don't feel the evolution. Yeah, you're still dying, but you're not going to die today, hopefully not. And then they do all the different tests to make sure your vital organs are relatively okay. And that's how they know in life insurance what your premiums, what you'd be worth in premiums, because they know someone like, who's like 55 years old, has a dad bod, graying here and there, and maybe they look at your family medical history and be like, okay, he has, this person maybe has some cancer, maybe has some heart issues. So they can kind of determine that you may have 10, 15, 20 years left on your life if you stay kind of in this same lifestyle. If you don't go into something that's like, drugs or go on a drinking binge and just drink, and then cause your life force to be weaned away, dwindle away. So life insurance can kind of tell you that, yeah, they have an idea, of how much time you're able to borrow without having to pay the piper right off the bat, and that's death. Okay? And so the whole thing with agility juice is to balance out the expended energy going out as well as retaining the energy coming in, so you can convert energy, so you can regenerate. And I make this correlation with currency. I did this a couple of years ago where I realized that retaining minerals, but it's not just minerals in your body, it's also the fatty acid, amino acid, prohormones, and minerals, right? But I focus on minerals because we look at money as something separate from our body's nutritional ability to regenerate. And we put all our value in the money, but we don't put value in our body. And our body is what causes us to make money. If you don't have a body and you're like, sick with high blood pressure issues, and you feel, you feel lethargic and you don't have the energy, how do you make money? Your ability to produce is a direct correlation to the kind of currency you want to keep producing. You realize that your longevity is going to make you rich because you're not going to try to capitalize on that spike of energy for maybe 20, 30 years. Maybe you do some good investments, maybe you don't. And then one day, you're like, you're 55, 60, and your body's breaking down, and all that money that you made is going to go to the government or to a loved one or Social Security or, and then what did you do? You just sacrificed yourself for somebody else. You were never able to really take advantage of your own minerals. You kept giving your minerals to somebody else. But when it comes to agility juice, you'll be able to balance out giving minerals to your government, taxes, helping out your friends and family if they need help. You also retain minerals for yourself. And so then I look at it as, there's balance of like, if you have too many minerals, then you're going to attract parasites. And you have too little minerals, then you're going to start cannibalizing yourself. You'll start mortgaging off the family farm. You'll start selling off your family jewels. You'll start taking out organs and limbs, getting your operations, getting your stents and your screws and your implants. And that's borrowed time. When you can't regenerate on your own, you're living on borrowed time. And yeah, your borrowed time could be great. You could go out with a bang, but is that really what you want? Or you wouldn't be getting the chemotherapy, the cannabis, the operations, the medications, the remedies, the herbs, all the different, massages and therapies. I mean, I'm telling you, there's so much business and people trying to prolong their life that I can't figure out why they still think that they want to die or should die. That's the misalignment of the body, mind, and spirit. And so the balance retaining the energy to convert must be more than the energy expended on a daily basis. So balance is the balance of retaining the energy to convert. So you have to seal your gut. You realize that when you change your diet and you go from vegan to vegan vegetarian, or from meat eater to a vegan and vegetarian, you're now losing your life force. Oh, but yes, during that time of you changing your diet, yeah, you might look cute. You might, superficially take away something that was causing more imbalances, but you realize now you're starving yourself. You realize that you have to reflect your environment. If there's animals in your environment, if there's viruses in your environment, if there's plants in your environment and different types of foods in your environment, if your microbiome is not reflective of your environment, then you will starve your body, mind, and spirit of the proper nutrition, especially when the environment becomes rather aggressive. And so then what happens is that you'll have more energy leaving your body trying to evolve and adapt than you are retaining, because you haven't fixed the, well, yeah, leaky gut, but even more so, you haven't fixed the anomalies that are in your DNA that was passed down to you. Do you realize that reproduction comes from a body in distress? When a body's in distress, it has anomalies, because that's the whole point of reproduction, is that it is based upon the body in distress. It senses extinction. And so that's why people are amorous. That's why people are on the hunt. When women are dropping their eggs or looking for someone to fertilize them, because they know, because the body senses, even though the person doesn't think about it, they already know they're going to die someday, because they already believe that. But the body senses biologically that there is an extinction event coming to surface at some point, and it needs to drop eggs. And so that's why you see girls looking so cute. You know why they're fertile? Because they're on their way out the door. Do you realize that we live in a very upside down society? Really cute girls that are very fertile are actually on their way out the door. And the ones that are like not so amorous and not so cute, and they don't pay attention to their looks all the time, they're probably the ones that live a longer time, because of, they'll still look cute, but they're not going to look as cute or as exotic as some of these girls out there who are heavily endowed with big butts and big tits and lipstick all over their face, and wanting to attract a man, because we don't need to carry on the human race. We are the human race. So that's what you have to understand. And so I understand, that that's the reality out there. I understand that the reality for you is that it's okay to die and to go out with a bang. And you think it's normal to be, is to go and just procreate, even when that's not the intention. So you have to understand that our society is very, very upside down. And that's why there is a depopulation agenda. That's why there is, this virus. And that's why we have masks and social distancing and this new world order and all the different, things are going on that people are suspecting. Oh yeah, there's a depopulation agenda. And, the Freemasons or the Illuminati and the Catholic Church. And yeah, you're definitely right. Yes, we have, those are the two ruling factions in our world, the Catholic Church and the Freemasons. But there is a light side of them, there's a life side of them, and then there's a dark side of them. Both have light and dark, life and death side of them. But at least with the Freemasons, you have a choice. And that's where you have to understand where's the difference between the Freemasons and the Catholic Church. Catholic Church, it gives you order. It gives you, a sense of what you think is right. The family and the children, and everyone has their, division of labor, and the woman's supposed to cook and clean and be this for their man, and the man's supposed to go out there and work and bring home the bacon and whatever. And that's fine. That order is not horrible. It works. It has worked. People have thrived in that. However, we are on a decline. The body's declining. You all are having your issues with all of your different anomalies. You're getting more implants in your body. You're seeing the amount of drug commercials that are coming on every 5 seconds. You know why? Because people are breaking the hell down and they don't know what to do. So they just go and apply more different chemistries to try to balance things out. But in the process of trying to balance themselves out synthetically, they cause another imbalance somewhere else. And they don't realize everything is connected. That's what side effects are, is when you do one thing to tweak a specific imbalance, and then it causes another imbalance somewhere else. And then you got to take another drug for that. And then now, before you know it, you're on a string of drugs and a string of remedies, and you're a mess, and your body's at war with each other. And then you're like, screw it, I'm just going to go and just say, you know what, I don't care. And you'll just, do what you do. So balance of retaining energy to convert must be more than the energy expended on a daily basis. It takes money to make money. It takes energy to convert energy. When you don't have enough energy in your body on reserve, that's what happens with cancer. Cancer cannibalizes good cells because you don't have enough retention of energy in your reserves to be able to then give energy to convert the nutrition into an actual telomere lengthening process. Telomeres are at the end of your DNA. They're little caps at the end of your DNA that hold your code, and then the RNA is what then is the replication, right? But when your telomeres are shortening, it shortens your life. And so that's what happens. Then people start breaking down, and then the most aggressive weaknesses, like their heart or other places, start breaking down even more, but the body's still going to try to survive because it wants to. Remember, life is very, very stubborn. It wants to live. It's just like a little flower trying to grow through a cement. If it doesn't get the reserves it's looking for, it's going to find the nearest source. And it could be your heart. It could be any of the other good cells around you. And that's what the aging process is. Stealing from Peter to pay Paul because you don't have enough in your reserves. You got leaky gut. You got energy leaking out all over the place. You're disintegrating. And so you're surviving on every single food every single day that you're eating, or you have too much on reserve. And now you have parasites or trying to keep the balance because you have too much on reserve. It'll tax your organs. So that's why when people have parasite infections is because they have too much on reserve, and those parasites are like, okay, we're going to help try to keep the balance. And parasites that are in your body, it's part of your microbiome. They actually keep people alive. People are like, oh my God, parasites are so horrible. And they start taking an anti-parasite, type of detoxes, and it destroys their microbiome because guess what the parasites live off? The host. You're the host. You kill the parasite. You kill the host. You try to kill, a virus. You kill the host. You should not be killing anything in your body, but that's what the system that you've been taught has instructed you to do. If you don't want to feel your evolution, they want you, they will give you a rest in peace method, and you will buy it hook, line, and sinker. And if you already believe you should die anyways, then it won't matter. It's to be expected. And some just don't want to die that soon. But why want to die at all is what gets me. Oh, but you're supposed to. And that's the brainwashing. Okay? And there's a lot of our society that's been taught, hard work, and I'm going to work until I die type of thing. And that's another brainwashing. Hey, I like hard work, but you better be able to replace what you've spent. And that's why I say when you work for somebody, they better pay you enough for you to regenerate so you can go to work another day and then also do other things. When you don't get paid enough, then you're giving your energy, your money away to somebody else who is not going to allow you to regenerate. That's the whole thing with being compensated for your energy. And if people are constantly borrowing your energy but never paying you back, then you better have enough to give away. If you're so poor, can you really afford to give money to another poor? You don't have enough for yourself. How could you possibly help somebody else, really? Oh, but people like that. Oh, yeah, give away to everybody, right? And you don't have enough for yourself. You're going to sacrifice yourself for somebody else? What the hell is that? So, yeah, the rich that are philanthropic, okay, I think it's great. They have enough to give away. But it doesn't make sense that someone's poor to be given away to somebody else who's also poor because, you can share food, but just to give money and give all these things to somebody that's only going to squander it. So if you're going to give money away or give shit away, you better have enough for yourself. And that's the same thing when you go into a job. Try not to work for free because you're going to need, unless you're independently wealthy, then it doesn't matter. You can work for free. But if you're not independently wealthy and you don't have enough on reserve, you better get a very appropriate compensation so you can still live. It takes money to make money. It takes energy to convert energy. So when someone's obese and rich, when the rate of the energy expended is less than the ability to retain. So if you're not expending energy by spending wisely or getting rid of the excess fat, then what happens is you attract biological and financial parasites. And then you don't know if someone really likes you for you, or they like you for your money, or you have all these, you have an imbalance in your microbiome because your microbiome is viruses, parasites, protozoa, proteins, fungus, and bacteria. Any imbalance in any of those 6 different areas, you're going to have then anomalies and issues in a very shortened lifespan. You also will be paranoid and become paranoid of someone else judging you, trying to steal your soul, or trying to steal your money. So the burden of carrying around wealth and excess weight does tax the body, mind, and spirit. I mean, I always said, I would rather, and I don't say I want to be poor. I'd rather just make a modest income, not too much and not too little, where I have the ability to regenerate. And guess what? Salt with J juice, salt with the cabbage and the kale, that's free energy. You want to know free energy? Tesla, yes. Tesla, I'm sure, figured out how to harness energy in such a way where but you have to have, you have to understand how it works, right? But in the body, you can create free energy, or not create, you can convert free energy by just knowing what minerals to take and how to apply nutrition and understand pain and evolution. I'm feeling the best I've ever felt in my life. Better than, even in my younger years when I was staying up late. Okay, and I'm 47, 46. I'm 46 years old. And I've gone through so much of my, my healing stuff for the last 4 years. And I know how aggressive the next atmosphere is going to be. And they're already telling you, okay? And so I'll be able to adapt. Yeah, I'll see fluctuations in my biochemistry, but that's basically non-equilibrium. It's good. Once you reach a point of equilibrium, that's death. And that's what I really had to understand the other day, because I was going through and trying to figure out what is equilibrium, because it almost seems like equilibrium is like a good thing, like stability. Yes, stability is great in relationships. Stability is great, in work relationships and in every kind of relationship, right? But in your body, you will always be influenced by a person, place, or thing. Always. And you have to have the ability to adapt. If you're that rigid, where you're so stable and you're that rigid, your inability to adapt will then eventually be your destruction. Because then you can try to have people then stop what they're doing because they're not fitting in with your paradigm. And that's the deal that I deal with all the different trolls out there. Is they are so stable and they have such an inability to adapt that my information is so foreign to them that they can't possibly take on new information. And that is going to be their destruction, because guess what? They're not going to do J juice. They will never do J juice. They will be living on borrowed time, and they know it. I know it. That's why I don't really worry about the trolls, because they're living on borrowed time. Stephen King outlived a lot of his critics. Now, Stephen King is also aging and degrading, but he had a lot of critics around his novels, and his novels are very, very dark. But, the best revenge, if you want to call it that, is outliving your critics. If you die with everybody else, then what the hell did you do, and what did you stand for? You stood for something very temporary that was no different than what somebody else did. You have to be able to stand the test of time. And so that's the whole point of J Juice, is not living from all these superficial platforms of activism and belief systems and things that seem great for like 60 years and then it gets repackaged down the road for a new generation. No, it's standing the test of time, seeing all the different repackaged ideas and fashion and religion and politics and science and seeing the latest and greatest newfangled remedy that when you actually break it down to its elemental state, it's no different than the same remedy that was offered before, but now it's just like a different configuration, because any different configuration will upset homeostasis in a body. The body does adapt to the same strains of antibiotics or drugs, and that's why people who adapt or who are immune to their drugs that doesn't do anything for them anymore, the pain returns. They have to go find a different strain of marijuana or a different drug combination, because the body finally adapted. The pain returns and the person's like, I don't want to feel pain again, so they look for the newest cure on the market until there's nothing left, until they are in a rest in peace type of situation. And then they won't be able to handle something like Jilly Juice, because they have anesthetized themselves their whole life, that you think that at the end, at the 11th hour, they're all of a sudden be like, okay, I'm going to deal with pain now. Now they got to deal with a whole lifetime of issues versus like half a lifetime of issues. The people who are relatively healthy now in their younger years will have a better time adapting to J Juice than someone who is 70, 80, or 90, who is so used to anesthetizing themselves and they look like the Walking Dead. They won't be able to do J Juice because They have trained themselves never to face their pain. They have trained themselves to take out problems, to run away from problems, to anesthetize problems. So I am very aware of who is going to survive on J juice and who is not. I am very lucky that I only had PMDD, but there's people that are in my family and are in my sphere of influence that have too many issues that they will never look at jelly juice. And it won't matter if I look like I'm 45 for the rest of my life and they're aging and looking like they're now 80 or 90. That's what I'm saying. J juice, you got to stand the test of time. It's going to be a while before people actually see the credibility unless you are scientifically minded and you understand thermodynamics and physics and chemistry. But if you don't understand thermodynamics, you don't understand physics and chemistry, and you don't want to understand, and you're too busy distracted by other things, then yeah, then you're going to have to wait and see it, and hopefully you survive to see me looking the way I do, and then them are looking like time has really gotten a hold of them and kicked their ass. Because time will age people who are not retaining the energy enough to convert it to their benefit. And so, so if I can impart any kind of knowledge to you guys, if you have the ability, if you have the coherency, if you have the time to understand my information, and we're social distancing, we're at home most of the time, there's probably another lockdown, maybe they'll have us another stimulus check where you'll get money, go buy some salt, get my book, okay, and get the recipe, or get the recipe off my page, deal with the healing. You're going to deal with everything under the sun that you've ever dealt with. Don't discriminate against food unless you're anaphylactic allergic. And then if you're anaphylactic allergic, diagnosable, where, yeah, your throat closes up if you eat a tomato, then don't eat a tomato until down the road, okay? And take the time for yourself. I'm telling you, what's going on right now in our society with this whole virus thing is actually a gift. It's now forcing you to not be distracted by the things that are causing your destruction. Yes, they're going to still give you an option for therapeutics and vaccines. They're still going to give you an option of things that are going to potentially anesthetize you if you don't have what it takes to balance all of that chemistry out. But you will have the choice to stay at home, get the salt, the water, the cabbage, puree it, ferment it, make it juicy, don't make it freaking sauerkraut, and drink it, and then actually live. You will feel life come back. You will feel your body come back to life, and that is the pain mechanism. And not everybody can handle it. I understand that. But that is the choice that you have. What other choice do you have? Go down with the ship with everybody else who's so distracted with everything else, with their kids, with their cannabis, with their activism, and oh my God, the politics. Oh my God, Trump. Oh my God, Biden. Who cares? Who cares? It really, it's not going to really affect you. You still got to pay your bills. You still got to take care of your kids. You still got to take care of yourself. You still got to eat. And you still got to go to the store and poop and get your mail and pay your taxes. Nothing is really going to change. But those that are imbalanced, who are so obsessed over a specific thing, and they keep looping in the same thing, and they always want to take a side, and they have to play that duality game, well, then that's what this virus is for, is to take out the useless eaters. Don't be a useless eater. Be a useful eater. The depopulation agenda is not the extinction agenda. Oh, it's alive and well. I'm not denying it. The Georgia Guidestones gave you guys a clue. And you're seeing this virus, and you're seeing people around you, I know people in my world that tested positive, but they survived it. Testing positive doesn't mean it's a death sentence. It just means that you tested positive this day because you had more antibodies that day, and yes, you had symptoms, and so you felt like, oh God, I should go test for it. Okay, great. It doesn't really mean anything unless your body cannot handle that evolution, unless you don't have enough on reserve to convert that energy to cause in your evolution. You'll be fine. But if someone doesn't have enough energy in their body retained, and they go through an evolutionary process, and then they have these symptoms, they're going to try to anesthetize themselves and take the therapeutics and the vaccines and whatever else, and then that will actually accelerate their death process. So I'm just saying that you guys have a choice. If I can impart any kind of wisdom, just as a youthful person and a non, or I'm not really youthful, I'm youthful and elderly. I'm like both. I'm middle aged. If you assume that I'm going to die at 100, at this point, not I'm, but maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm really youthful relative to the potential. You say 300 years, 900 years, whatever. That's all biblical stuff. So just understand chemistry, understand biochemistry. You know, my book that I have out right now, 2020, is really, really simple. It's not too in depth. My next book is gonna be really in depth. It's gonna be more for those that are more analytical, and so there'll still be a story around it. There'll be a story around it because I know story, allegory, and facts. Truth and facts must be mixed together. What's a truth? Truth is perception. Doesn't mean it's fact, it means it's your perspective on something, but as long as the facts remain the same and the laws are uniform, the laws of life and the laws of death are understood, then it won't matter what the truth is. But you still have to have a truth to be able to support your facts. Okay? And everyone's truth could be very different. So you'll see my truth with the facts attached to it, and then that will be, that's going to be a very meaty book. I'm already at 135. I'm sure I'll be going into like 200 pages easily. So yeah, so if you want more of a simplistic version of what I'm talking about, with understanding the value of sugar and salt and not dieting, and understanding the microbiome and what causes people to die in a very superficial level, get my current book, and then understand those concepts, and then it might prepare you for my next book. Okay? So that's it. I gotta go do some of my work, but thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.